And Democrats came out after, of course, all the spotlight's been on Joe Manchin this week and said, we're going to play hardball with him next year. Yep. President Joe Biden, says he is not done with his talks with Joe Manchin. This isn't over. They're going to continue on with this. Chuck Schumer says we're going to play hardball with Joe Manchin. We're going to make this thing happen. And they're going to start putting pressure on him. And that's what's been needed this whole time. I want everybody to think for a second. In terms of in the Senate, who are the people you have seen publicly come out and call out Joe Manchin who are sitting in the Senate today? Well, not today. They're on vacation. But you know what I mean. Who? Chuck Schumer has. Bernie Sanders has. Pretty sure Elizabeth Warren has. It's three. It's three out of 50 that I know of. Now, that's not to say they're the only three. Sure, plenty of other folks could have flown under the radar. Maybe their statements, their comments didn't quite get the attention that the comments of these other folks had. But why? I mean, Bernie Sanders made headlines for a day and a half last week by saying Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema were acting like Republicans. But part of the pressure campaign that has to be put on Joe Manchin, the hardball the Democrats say they're going to play, means that it can't just be Bernie Sanders. They can't just send Bernie out to be the attack dog and then later on be like, well, he's not really a Democrat, so that's why he can do it. No. Bernie Sanders is more of a Democrat than Joe Manchin could ever hope to be in his life. Trust me. In fact, he's more of a Democrat than any of the Democrats in that Senate. But either way, you can't just have one guy. You can't have three people. Elizabeth Warren is tough. She is absolutely just an attack person and a passionate person. And I love Elizabeth Warren. But that's also not enough. There has to be this united front. And that's what the Democratic Party has been lacking. You know, sure, you're not going to get Sinema to join in on the attacks on Joe Manchin to really pressure him. You're not going to get Tester to do it either. But you can get a handful, 10 to 15 other Democratic senators to band together and go public with this. And that's what you have to do. It can't just be one guy doing an interview here, or Elizabeth Warren doing an interview over here, and making passing comments about Joe Manchin and both of them, and then the interviewer moves on to something else. That's not good enough. It has to be press conferences. It has to be meetings. And then after the meetings, you have to do another press conference and talk about how he wouldn't go along with what you needed and how much that's going to harm the people of the United States. Those are the points you hit on. You don't just talk about, oh, everybody's going to suffer by this. No, say, listen, because of this man obstructing this legislation, you don't get that child tax credit money in your bank every month anymore. Because of his decision here, we're not going to have child care expenses paid for you. We're not going to have lower cost prescription drugs. We're not going to have the $35 insulin that's a part of the legislation. We're not going to transition to renewable energy. We're going to keep burning the dirty fossil fuels. That's the message you go forward with, but you have to go forward with it with as united of a front as you can put together. It can't be a piecemeal patchwork of one senator over here on MSNBC saying it, one on CNN saying it, and then nobody talks about it for another month. No. And you can't put it all on Joe Biden either. It can't just be Manchin and Biden talking again. No. It has to be everybody, everywhere, every time, all the time, going after him and playing hardball. So again, the Democrats say they're going to play hardball with Joe Manchin in 2022, and I am here for it all day long. But you have to do it right. You can't just come across as a bunch of bullies who are mad at Manchin. Put the real pressure on him, remind the public of what's at stake, and eventually, if you're united and strong, you might just be able to crack him. I'm Farron Cousins. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/FarronBalanced, youtube.com/The Ring of Fire, and Ring of Fire Podcast at rofpodcast.com. I'll be right back with more on The David Pakman Show.